So thanks, everybody. Welcome aboard this evening. We have with us for this Just Landed special from Portugal Callings webinar series for Expats Portugal, James Holly in Ericeira. We have Jim and Jana McDonald in Tavira. We have Martin, who is in Singapore tonight, who has created a home for him and partner in the Algarve. We also have Sarah and Richard in the UK, and Desiree. I'm so glad to see Desiree here as well this evening, who has just got back to the United States and may well be a little bit tired, but it'll be lovely if you could help us out as well this evening, Desiree. So thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Let's get on with those questions. Let's go to you first. I'm going to ask the first one and go across the board. And I know Jim and Jana, you are extremely tired because you've only just moved and landed in Tavira. Let's start with you this evening. And we understand that you may have to leave after a little, or you might just fall asleep looking at the camera tonight.
Oh, that's
Could you tell us a little bit about yourselves, your personal setup, and who you are and who's come to Portugal?
Who wants to start?
Go ahead.
So I'm Jim. This is Jana. We just retired. Actually, she's been retired a little longer than me. I just retired from a job working for the U.S. government in Germany, where we lived for the last 7.5 years. We are originally from the U.S. Jana is from Southern California originally. I'm from Northern Ohio, and I've lived all over the world with the U.S. military.
Fantastic.
So we moved from San Diego to Colorado, and then Colorado to Germany. And then after the first day in Germany, I sent a text out to my friends that said, "Dear America, we are never, ever getting back together." And I have not looked back since.
Okay.
So when we decided to retire, we started, researching, and we were looking at a couple different places, but Portugal just kept coming up as such a good choice for us, especially because of the medical things that we need. And laid back pace of life, which we have enjoyed in a very tiny village in Germany.
Yes.
Fantastic.
And I actually lived in the Azores twice during my military days. I was stationed at lodges in the Azores, and I really fell in love with the Portuguese culture. So This really is, it's kind of like coming home.
Oh, brilliant. Okay. And we'll find out exactly where you've landed in a little while. Thank you so much, both of you. James, your particular situation, please introduce us to you, Banana Slug Man.
Hello. Yeah, I'm from California, in the United States, for those who may not know the geography. I'm brand new to being international, so I don't know who knows what in terms of world geography. I told many Americans don't know where anything on the planet is other than their state. So anyway, that's my starting place. I don't know exactly what you want to know. Let's see. I made the decision to move to Portugal based on some limited information research I had done primarily through International Living magazine. I wanted to relocate to someplace I loved. And when I really thought about it, when I asked myself the question, if you didn't have any restrictions whatsoever, where would you want to be? Santa Cruz, California was instantly what I thought of, because I had lived there for over 20 years and loved it. And then I had the harsh reality of that some things do restrict that choice, primarily financially. I'd been priced out. I had left 10 years ago, and prices were just, rent that had been maybe $1,000 a month was $3,000 a month. And I didn't want to move to Santa Cruz so that I could work 80 hours a week. I wanted to move to Santa Cruz so I could enjoy the environment. So that got me thinking about, all right, where in the world would I want to be? And I said, well, maybe I should start looking for the Santa Cruz, California of somewhere else on the planet. And I checked I checked areas in Central America, a variety of different places that were supposed to be immigrant friendly and so on and so forth. But ultimately, I figured out that the climate wasn't going to work for me in the tropics. So that's when I started looking at Europe, and Portugal came up very high. And it made a lot of sense to me just geographically that, and I've said it, my experience has been that Portugal is kind of the California of Europe. It's right on west coast, the Atlantic Ocean, not the Pacific. Climate is very similar. So then I literally got on a Google map and started moving my search up the coast to see what was there and getting information about what was there. And when I landed on Ericeira, I just got a sense that something felt right, and I started looking into it, got connected with community on Facebook. And at that point, after a little back and forth, I just said, this is going to be at least my starting point. So I made the decision to move. Long story, a bit shorter. I got everything I owned into one suitcase, one carry-on, and one backpack, bought a ticket. Well, I also did the whole D7 process. Arrived here last October, and just like the last couple, I have no intention of ever going back.
Wow.
I can't. I don't have any idea of why I would do that. So
It's amazing.
I'm very happy. Yes, every day is another joy and another positive experience. Even the things that people complain about, I find is fun and exciting, and so
we'll come back to
I'm perfectly happy to be here. Yes.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Well, I think we need to understand a little bit more of your life philosophy if you're making all those bad things good like that, which is superb. And we get a taste of that on the morning show, of course. So thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's go to Singapore now. Martin, what time is it in Singapore?
I don't know, because I'm in Luge.
I thought you were in Singapore tonight. So far better, far more civilized for you to be down there in the south of Portugal. Fantastic. For some reason, I thought you were in the Far East. That is where you came from, though, right?
Yeah, I came from Singapore. No, the Far East reference was because Jojo, my wife, is doing an online course and an exam tonight. Singapore.
Okay. In Singapore time, I've got you. All right. Well, I'm so glad you're here, and I think enjoying it. That says it all, doesn't it? It doesn't come out. It doesn't come out on the video. So next time you speak, if you could hold your glass up again. So just tell us a little bit about your backstory, where you two have come from.
Yeah, we've been. My wife Jojo and I have been in Singapore for nearly 20 years, working in the offshore oil and gas diving industry. Retired in 2016 when our company was bought. And 2018, get off the shackles of the company, and plan was to just travel the world. We got a place in New Zealand, and idea was to spend time in Europe and New Zealand and so on. So, and then of course, COVID happened. So we haven't been allowed in New Zealand. So getting fed up with that, and tuning into some chap called Munson on some channel, and someone else who I was watching on a blog or another channel to do with crypto, who were saying about Portugal. We'd been in Europe a lot traveling, and we'd always loved Portugal, and said this is one place in Europe we'd love to live. So July last year, I just said sod it, jumped on a plane. I mean, you know the story because we've met and had many conversations, but was determined to not leave Portugal until I bought a property. Intention was golden visa. D7 ended up being but in the end we bought a place that we could have done the golden visa anyway. So we're now down in Algarve, in Praia da Luz near Lagos. And we came out here for a month on the 28th of January after having got a D7 visa within 5 weeks in Singapore. And the plan was just to come out because Jojo hadn't actually been to this area. even though I bought the house here on her instruction.
Very good.
I've been a good boy doing what I was told.
Yes. Well, that's a great story to hear as well. People may want to know what it's like to buy a property in Portugal and specifically in the Algarve. So thank you very much for being here this evening. And is it true you're available for hire as a Sean Connery lookalike as well, if anybody's having a function?
My DBS is in New Zealand, so I don't have to.
Maybe not then. Okay, thank you very much, Martin. I'm in the south of Portugal tonight. Let's go to the UK, to the Extons, who were recently in Portugal. And I think you had quite a nice time here, didn't you, both of you?
Yeah, we did.
Lovely time, apart from when someone threw a drink on me.
Yes, that would have been me. So sorry about that. Just send the dry cleaning bill into Jerry at Expats Portugal. So where did you go? Where have you been in Portugal? And what stays in? Well, actually, let's start with where you are. Which bit of the UK are you in?
So we're in Lincolnshire in the UK. We're coming with our 2 young children.
And dog.
And dog, yeah.
Wow.
And we came last week and we did a pretty good job of going lots of places, didn't we? And we loved it. We loved everywhere we went.
Nowhere we didn't run.
Yeah, we had San Martino de Porto syndrome, Carl, and we loved it all.
Excellent. So coming as a family with a pet and hoping to start a business here, so a slightly different setup for you. Can you quickly name check all the places you went to?
Lisbon, Coimbra, San Martino. We had a really nice lunch there, didn't we?
Free lunch.
Free,
And free drink.
it was good. Then we went to Foz de Relio.
Yeah.
We
Caldash.
loved it in Foz. So
Yeah,
lovely.
really like Foz.
Caldash de Relio.
Yeah.
And then we went to Peniche, to the
yes.
to the edge, to the Atlantic. That was amazing.
Fantastic. And how many days did that take?
4 nights we had.
Wow.
Okay.
We drove a bit.
But the first couple of days was that awful Saharan dust, and it was really dull everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we woke up on that Friday in San Martino de Porto, and the sun came out, and it was just like, oh,
This is why we want to come.
Yeah, we both kind of just skipped down the road, like, we love it here, let's stay. I didn't want to come home.
Yeah.
Even though we left the kids at home, I didn't want to come home.
We still haven't seen it.
That's a joke. That's Richard's strange sense of humour.
Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll come back to you for the place you have chosen to live in, if you've been able to make that decision in just a little while. Desiree, are you there? Because I think your tour has been even more extensive and incredible. Are you able to speak to us through the possible jet lag you have?
Oh, yeah, possible jet lag, exposure to COVID, but I hope it's just jet lag. So,
wow,
yes.
You've really put through it.
Yeah. So I just got back. I was in Portugal for 3 weeks. I'm in Oregon. I'm close to Portland, Oregon. And I set up my scouting trip to see the Silver Coast and the North. And then last of all, I went to Tomar. So on the Silver Coast, I stayed in San Martino for a week. And then I visited other places, Nazaré and Óbidos and Alcobaça. And stayed in Viana do Castelo and Ponte Lima. Do you want me to list everything?
I think your itinerary is amazing, and I don't know if it's available for other people to copy at some point, because it was incredible, extensive, and exemplary. I think is a really good way of getting a taste of all of Portugal. And clearly, your cat is glad to see you back, I think.
Yes, he's not mad at me anymore. He was mad when I first got home, but my other cat was really happy to see me. But the one you'll never see on screen because he's shy. But
okay, so that's something to be careful with if you're on a scouting trip. Your cat might be a bit grumpy when you get back.
And I'm planning to retire in about a year or so, maybe a little sooner, and move at that point. So this was just to get there and see what it was like.
And has the experience hastened your plans? You just said there you might move sooner. Has the whole experience of coming here done that?
I would love to, but I actually don't think I can. I think financially, I really am going to have to wait and come, early next year, probably February or March next year. But I'd love to be able to sooner. It's an amazing place, really is.
All right.
And
I'm so glad you had a good time, and we'll come back to you to see which place has won your heart, if any, if that's been narrowed down a bit. But I know Jim and Janet are really tired, and it's so good of you both to be here tonight because we want to find out where you ended up. I think I let the cat out of the bag. Reference to Desiree there. The cat out of the bag where you live is Tavira, isn't it? So why did you choose that? And that is where you're speaking from this evening, right? Oh, I think we need you to unmute, Jim and Jenna. There we go.
Got it. Sorry about that.
Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yeah, we chose to go ahead.
No, I've got. I don't know if that was an echo, but you go ahead.
Oh, okay. So we chose Tavira. We looked at Lisbon. We looked at Porto. We even looked at Setúbal. And basically, they were all really too large for us. Beautiful places, but we wanted something smaller. And Jana is from Southern California originally, and we both love the sun. We both love the beach. We both golf. That just kind of kept pulling us down to the Algarve.
Yeah.
And the reason we chose Tavira is it's less touristy in the Eastern Algarve, I guess, east of Faro maybe. That may change, who knows, but at least right now, it seems less touristy. The weather is better down here in the Algarve for what we want. Some people like weather from the Pacific Northwest, and for those people, I say go to Porto. But yeah, that's the reason we chose the Eastern Algarve. And Tavira, we visited. We spent a week here. We spent some time in other spots in the Algarve, but we really fell in love with Tavira as a town. The cost of living, of course, is going to be, it seems cheaper, even for the Algarve. It's maybe a little bigger than what we've been used to recently, but not significantly.
Well, we've come from a village in Germany in the Rheingau, so sort of like the Napa Valley of Germany, right next to the Rhine River, and our village had 7,000 people and one little main street. So this seems like the big city to me. And when we went to Lisbon, it was really just, oh yeah, I don't want to live in that kind of hugeness anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Understood. I really appreciate you being here tonight, and you are just a few days into your adventure. I understand if you need to slip away and get some sleep, but just one last thing from you. What's the, if you're writing a postcard back to everyone back home, or advice to the lovely people who are tuned into the webinar tonight about moving to Portugal, what's the first thing that comes to mind with your advice about moving here?
My advice would be, if you really want to do it, do it. Don't overthink it. I actually overthought it for a while. Don't overthink it. Just go with your gut, go with your heart. You can probably say.
And I would say that we followed the same philosophy when we moved to Germany, which is it's all an adventure.
Mhm.
Some adventures require more swearing than others do, but it's all an adventure.
Brilliant.
And so
Brilliant.
even when the swearing adventures happen, we just laugh it off.
James had brought up a good point, talking about even some of the bad things that people talk about that he has found amusing or not that bad. Yesterday, I was sitting in the real estate agent's office trying to get the gas hooked up for our apartment. We're in an Airbnb right now.
Yeah.
And it was bureaucracy at its finest. And in the past, and not that far distant past, I probably would have been really teed off, but I was laughing. I thought it was funny. And the real estate agent, she's from Brazil, it was driving her crazy. I could see that. But it was just another part of the adventure.
Yeah. Oh, well done. That's such great advice. Thank you very much. Understand completely if you do want to go and get some sleep. But thank you so much for being here tonight. And I know that if people want to get in touch with you, they can do that probably on the forum or via Facebook. I know, Jim, you've been incredibly helpful on Facebook and a brilliant part of our community. So thank you very much for that. I hope you continue to be so. And you know where we are if you need our help. So a very good evening to you. Thank you very much. James.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jim and Jenna. Thank you so much for being here, and all the
All right,
best.
thank you.
All the best to you in your new life here in Portugal. From
Thank
all
you.
of
Thank you so much, Carl.
Okay, it's a pleasure. Lovely to have you here tonight.
Bye.
James, this philosophy of yours of being able to reframe some of the difficult things that happen, the swearing parts of the adventure, as Jim and Jana put it. What's your secret then with that? And have you got any examples?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I haven't had any swearing moments yet. I'm not anticipating them, but perhaps it has to do with my attitude coming in. One of the things that has irritated me about American culture has been this attitude of, I don't want to be here, but I want to take here, there. And so the idea is I want to Americanize the foreign country that I'm moving to. And that was never my mindset. My mindset was, if I'm leaving here, whether I love where I am or don't love where I am, I'm going somewhere else. So it's up to me to adjust to where I land, not the other way around. So having that mindset, I just started paying attention to what was going on around and following suit, just wanting to become a part of the culture and a part of the place that I was, to be a member, not an observer or a visitor or whatever else. And what I observed was a much slower pace, a much calmer attitude, a much friendlier willingness to help. People, lots of laughter. That took me a little bit by surprise. Like, people would stop on the street like they'd never met before and then begin to have a 20-minute conversation and be having a grand time. And so those kinds of things I was just paying attention to, and there's not a lot of room for being pissed off in that. People are being friendly. How do you get mad? And I know I've heard people say they have experiences that are not that. I haven't had those experiences in 5 months. Maybe we do attract what we put out. I don't know, but I have nothing but very positive things to say. I made the point, one anecdote, I was at the Intermarché for lunch with my housemates who are Portuguese, and this stood out. A man was getting very animated and very outwardly expressive and was angry. And he was rightfully angry because they only checked his vaccination when he was ready to pay for his food, as opposed to when he got in line. So that was not a very good system. Oh, by the way, you can't validate so you can't eat. Well, I've got all my food here. What are you talking about? So he got upset. But the thing for me was, at that point, I'd been here 4 months, and that was the only time I'd ever heard anyone raise their voice in anger or frustration. The only raised voices I was hearing was laughter and extremely animated conversation. So it just suits me, my personality in a way. And I realized that I don't need to push and shove to get in front of the old people who are taking their time. I just stand and wait and watch and just say, aren't they cute? And let them walk by and then carry on my way. So I came with the capacity, the ability to not be in a hurry, and the understanding that that was more the pace of where I am. And I've done a lot of work on myself in terms of shifting my perspective and stuff anyway. So I believe that I'm as culpable for the positive experience as the culture around me is.
Well said. Thank you very much for that. And more about your journey, if people want to look at the watch again of the Good Morning Portugal show, where your journey was so rich and interesting, and it featured a slideshow that we had to do it in 2 parts. So you can find that James's journey to Ericeira in 2 parts on the Good Morning Portugal back catalogue on our YouTube channel. Thanks, James, for now. If you've got any questions,
yes.
for James,
I'll
them in.
just say it's in November, so you'll have to go back a ways.
You have to rewind a little
Okay.
bit, yes, because there's quite a lot of material in. It was fascinating talking to you. Go on. Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I was just going to say it's those two were in November, so there's a lot of shows to get through to get that far back in the catalog. So I just want to help if people want to see it, go to about mid-November and you'll find it more easily.
Thank you for that, James. Okay, brilliant. So over to a slightly different experience, moving a family over and a dog and wanting to start a business here. Let's go to the UK, back to the Extons. After a few days here, do you feel that you're closer to that and that's doable over here in Portugal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure?
We had that first sort of shock when we got there. It's like, are we really going to do this? Are we going to bring the kids in?
Yeah. But then we are going to do it. Definitely.
Yeah, we are definitely doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
We've only got like 7 weeks left till our consulate appointment now, so there's no going back now.
No.
Okay, so you've set the wheels in motion for getting yourselves a visa, and you're using that as your kind of guiding force.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. And you'll be able to enjoy the sweary adventure with all of that, I'm sure.
Well, the only
Okay.
person who swore at me was you, Carl.
Sorry, say that again.
The only person who swore was you.
Really?
When you forgot to drink on me.
Yes, in my utter horror and shock.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think it's amazing. And which of those lovely places that you mentioned then has won your heart? Have you been able to narrow the search down?
I feel like we should have talked about this before.
Yes, we should.
Honestly, I can
Lisbon.
imagine myself living in all of them, and we.
And we probably will. We'll probably move around.
We live in a village in England, and it's really quiet here. But I could imagine myself living in Lisbon because it's not like a normal city. It's so much fun. We had such fun in Lisbon, didn't we? Yeah, we had a great time. Or at the beach. I could imagine us living in Foz.
Yeah.
And we went to Oberdosh. I could kind of imagine.
Yeah.
You clearly haven't decided. Okay, all right. So
we'll decide when we arrive. We're very last minute.
That's part of the rental thing, you know. If people, because it's too difficult to decide on a little trip, that's a good idea to get a rental place wherever in the middle of where you feel like you might want to be, and then use the time when you get there to have more, because then you've got so much time to explore, and then you can really, you know, go into it more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck with the search. Yeah, get over here, set up a base camp. I think you're liking the base camp idea, aren't you? Getting a rental and then pushing the decision, kicking that down the street a little bit.
Yeah.
Superb. Okay, so let's go back to the south of Portugal and Martin. What else are you enjoying apart from the wine, Martin, in your new life here in Portugal?
The most fabulous thing down here is the Algarve was the last place, as you know, that I was going to come to live here. So I came to the Algarve first to knock it off the list, and after a whole load of procrastination and so on, realized that 90% of the properties that are up for sale that met our criteria were here in the Algarve, and B, it just the beaches, the cliffs. We're not beach people. We're not lying in the sun people, so we don't belong in the Algarve. But now in the winter, this is when it absolutely shines down here, because it's been pissing down yesterday and last night. We've which has shown the roof of our master bedroom because water is dripping on the floor, but that's all part of the fun. But it is just superbly green and beautiful now. In the summer when I was here, July, August, September, it was like a desert, but it still has a certain beauty. So for me, that the greenery, the lushness of the place is just fantastic. The people are great. The wine obviously is not to be missed, and it's just a great place to be. It's just a really good place to be. And I know everybody's favorite, and I think everybody said before, there is somewhere in Portugal for everyone. There's a place that fits everybody's needs. and
Yeah.
it's looking around and finding it.
But what an amazing plot twist for you, thinking that the Algarve wasn't for you, and now you firmly, you're completely happy there, and in that plot twist of your Portuguese journey.
Yeah, well, it's that Brits on tour bloody thing, it's all the cheap holidays coming down here, and I mean, we saw some of the boys when I dropped my son and his wife off at the airport. There was a stag do coming through, and so on, and it's just like, well, luckily we're far enough because we're away to the west. The other guys are right in Tavira. We've gone the other way. Sagres is just too far, but Praia da Luz and Lagos is a beautiful little town. It's got the cutest fort I've ever seen, I think, if you can have a cute fort. But
And that's when you pretend to be German, is it? When the Brits are coming through on their stag do's and so on at the airport?
There's a lot of Swedish people here,
Oh.
so who of course are even crazier than the Brits. But a lot of the people living around us, we thank heavens we do have Portuguese people living around where we are, but it's still, there are a lot of Brits, which isn't a bad thing. It just used to be like Little Britain here.
Yeah.
There's more of an international mix, but mainly Swedish, Brits, and Portuguese.
Wow.
And it doesn't seem to be a bad mix, to be honest.
Cool. And you've been through the house buying process, which I know hasn't been that easy, but you've got there in the end. People might like to ask you questions on that, and we will go to questions in just a moment after we found out about where Desiree favors over here. And also, you mentioned crypto, and crypto comes up in most of our webinars at some point. Are you finding the crypto scene interesting and useful here, or would you rather not say, as many crypto people don't like to talk about it? It's like Fight Club.
Well, nobody wants to talk about it at the minute because it's crap.
Okay, hodl then. Hodl on the crypto. But I mean, it is seen as a favorable place to come, isn't it? No capital gains tax on crypto gains. What does the crypto community think of Portugal at the moment?
Well, I mean, I'm not particularly part of the crypto community as such, but I mean, ironically for me, there is no advantage. We're actually at a big disadvantage moving from Singapore to here because corporation tax, everything is much lower if it exists at all in Singapore. There's no tax on profits on shares. There's no tax on profits on many things in Singapore. Whereas here we're moving to somewhere where there are quite high taxes, but not on crypto yet. So should you actually be the lucky one who's making profits in crypto, then it's a great place to be. And of course, now is not a bad time to be buying, allegedly. So yeah, so we'll see what happens with that.
Desiree, if you can hear me, can you tell everybody which part, while I struggle to hear the answer myself, can you tell us which part, if you're any clearer about which part you want to live in Portugal?
Yeah, well, one thing I want to say to any single women, it's traveling there. It's really safe, and I felt very comfortable traveling by myself. And it was wonderful to meet up with people along the way from expats, which I did a number of times. So, it was easy to do it. I was really pleasantly surprised. It was great. As far as places go, I originally, thought I would for sure want to be up by Ponte Lima in the north. And I spent a whole week up there and saw some different areas up there. And it's lovely. But on my last day, I went to Tomar, and I really liked Tomar. I was kind of afraid of it because I was concerned about a place being too hot, but I'm thinking maybe that shouldn't be, the main priority that I have is avoiding a place that's hot in the summer if I like it otherwise, because I just really had a special feeling about that place. And I'm leaning towards, at this point, once, maybe renting there to start with for the first year and still viewing it as like I'm still learning. It's, the base camp idea. But because it's more central, I think it might be a good place to do that from rather than being up in the north. So that's kind of where I've landed right now. So yeah. Are you back, Carl? No.
Nope.
Did you all hear
Apparently
me?
not.
We
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
tell me more about Samar though, if you don't mind, because we didn't make it to Samar.
He's
We didn't have
disappeared
time.
again.
Well, it's such a, for one thing, in all these little towns, when I would drive in, I knew I didn't want a big city, and driving even into the smaller places was more difficult, because it's so crowded and the streets are small and they don't make sense and there's no street signs. It's really different than the US. And so even in the smaller places, it was a little bit hard finding my way around. And Tomar was a little bit better that way. It didn't feel so crowded, even though it's a good sized city. But I also just loved the castle, loved the feeling there. It's really, I found it kind of magical. And I was surprised because I just kind of put it at the very end of my itinerary, thinking, oh, it's going to be too hot there, but I want to see it anyway. And the town itself is lovely. You know, it's really, I don't know what else to say about it. It's charming, you know. Yeah. So many places are, though. I mean, it's
Yeah,
almost
where you
everywhere I went, you know, I could say that too. I mean, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, we're agreeing. Everywhere you go is just beautiful. You can imagine yourself living pretty much anywhere, which
Yeah.
I couldn't do in the UK. I can't drive around here and think I'd live in that town because I just wouldn't. But in Portugal, you really could.
Yeah, I did have the concern about the beach, because at first I thought I wanted to be by the beach, but I do have concerns about it getting so crowded with tourists, and I don't really want to be in a place that does that. So I'm fine with being a bit inland, and maybe in a place where that doesn't happen as much, or it's not as crowded. I don't know, but
Question is that it's from Alison. We've
Okay.
been eyeing Tamar too from our couch back here in the US. Did you find it easy to come and go from there with transportation options?
to come and go from the US.
No, in Tamar.
Well, I was driving. I rented a car, so I just drove everywhere. I had a tiny little car, so that was easy, actually. So I'm not really sure about other, transportation options. Yeah.
I think
Right.
James, you're a public transit user, aren't you, as the Americans would say?
I am. Yes.
And how do you find the system here?
Very good, actually, for what I need personally. I want to preface it by saying I did actually manage to exist in Santa Cruz for 15 years without a car. So I have some public transportation experience to compare to. The buses that go between Lisbon and Ericeira run, there's probably 12 buses a day that do that. So getting to the main transportation hub of the country in Lisbon is really fairly easy. From where I am, which is right on the coast, it only takes 40 or 50 minutes on the bus to do that. That very same bus that heads away from Ericeira to Lisbon also goes the other direction, and I can take that bus into Ericeira from where I am, which is about I'm about little over 4 kilometers from the village center, and that takes me about 15 minutes on the bus. In addition, the village center has a smaller bus service that circles around within the limits of Ericeira. So I'm able to move around where I am locally fairly conveniently. What I'm finding is really amazing is that there is a calendar monthly transportation pass that can be purchased for seniors at 20 euros a month. And that entitles the holder to every form of public transportation available in the Lisboa region. So I'm able to get from as far north as Ribamar, all the way down to Sintra and to Lisboa and some of the areas around it on that $20. So basically one trip to Lisboa plus the metro that I would be paying would pay the $20 for the whole month. And the good news is, if you don't happen to be an old guy like me, you can get the very same pass for 40 euros. So
Yeah, well, I was just about to
it's
say
really-
that. I mean, you do pretend to be an oldie to get that, because you'd only have to pay 40 at the full price.
That's right. No, I'm not pretending, but
Oh, wow, okay.
but I don't have to be. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, it's a great deal. And for me, the idea is, when I get to where I'm actually wanting to travel within the country, I will rent a car, and that's assuming I can. This is one of the processes, sort of the last step of all the paperwork, is getting my driver's license exchange managed, and I'm still waiting to get that done. Assuming that all works, then I'll be renting a car to drive to different places, or taking the train or something, depending on what's available.
Super.
But I'm counting on not depending on a car to get around.
Okay. And Heather was asking a question: what is the age that seniors can get passes? Senior is 65. Thanks, Khadija, for that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. Stubal was somewhere Christina wanted to know about. Does anybody from the panel or anyone else actually on the call have any experience of Stubal?
Only the pronunciation.
Yeah, which I'm struggling with, is clearly there. But locals call it Stubal, don't they?
I've heard Stubal.
Stubal.
Like, you don't even say the al.
Okay.
It looks like Setubal, and it's pronounced Stubal. So.
Thank you very much for that, James. And I know you are learning Portuguese, aren't you? You're quite diligent among the folk who come in your efforts to learn. How's that going? And we'll ask that of everybody actually here tonight, because I think it's a great question to ask. Starting with you, James. I mean, you're learning. What generally is your experience of trying to engage in Portuguese?
It feels painfully slow.
Yeah.
But it's a new language. And I've heard many people say it's a very difficult language to learn. And my conclusion is, because you're actually learning two languages. You're learning the language as it's written, and you're learning the language as it's spoken and heard. And they do not match. You don't read it and hear what you hear when people are talking. So it really is almost like two languages to me. And so slow, but I'm making progress. One of the great words for me was queria, which is I would like, which means now I have access to anything I would like, because I know how to use that word. I can start every sentence with queria and then like figure out what it is I'm looking for. So with practice, now I can order the specific coffee that I drink, and they know what it is and will bring it to me. I know how to order my bread every week when I go to the pasteleria. Certain foods I can order. I'm getting familiar with the fruits and vegetables in the market, beginning to engage in very short greetings,
Well done.
which in 5 months, 5 months, I'm proud of that.
Good effort. You should be. And Mia is with us on the breakfast show in the morning. So if you want to learn some Portuguese and ask questions about Portuguese culture, Mia will be with us for Feel Good Friday tomorrow morning. Same question to you, Martin. I think it's more difficult, isn't it, to engage in Portuguese? Because in the Algarve, a lot of people just...
It's the laziness of the British, and the attitude in the Algarve, unfortunately, is that a lot of people, even people who have been here for 20 or 30 years, they're not interested in speaking Portuguese, because in the Algarve you don't need to. You can just, from the pool guy to the gardener to the lady in the shop to everybody, so many people speak English, and the Portuguese themselves here say, look, Portuguese is very, very difficult to learn, very difficult to speak. But absolutely agree with James before. It's two different languages. I can semi-understand. I had some legal papers today, and I can kind of get the gist of what's happening. And some furniture going to be delivered, and I had to ring the guy up to say, okay, do you need the payment by the 26th, or are you delivering on the 26th? So I kind of got, but the spoken word is just so difficult. It is so difficult. And that's my excuse as a bloody pom. But
I've got some editing to do, haven't I, on the language on this tonight, and also knitting back the bits where I drop out. Same question then to you, the Extons. Did you throw any phrases around from your phrase book while you were here? How did it go?
You tried and you got really well with it.
Well, obviously it was only a really short trip, but yeah, by the end of the week we were making more of an effort.
But they like if you make any tiny effort, they love it.
Yeah, there was a lady in a cafe who was quite
Moody.
I wouldn't say moody.
Okay.
She was just,
She wasn't enthusiastic.
No, but we made a proper effort to speak Portuguese and to tell her that we'd enjoyed the lunch, didn't we, in Portuguese? And then she smiled and she was all happy and not, because they appreciate the effort, don't they?
A little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good. Very good. Keep it up. Excellent. Keep practicing in the UK for your next visit. Desiree, did yours improve in the few weeks that you were here?
Well, yeah, I think so. But I had been working on it for about a year with the app Practice Portuguese, and actually being there, what I found is I could read things and I could usually find the word I was looking for to ask for something, but I couldn't speak very well, and I couldn't understand most of what people said to me because the pronunciation is so, it's just difficult, it's just, I've studied languages, and it's really the emphasis on the words, on where you stress a certain syllable or is so important. And it's going to take a long time, I think, to really be able to understand, what's said to me. I can catch a few words, but it's going to take really being immersed. And I mean, I'll keep working on it here, but I feel like I need to be there to actually, get to where I can speak and converse with somebody. So,
yeah, it sounds like you're not daunted, which is great. That's superb. Okay, Matt, thank you very much. Heard it's best to have a car in Stubble. What's your opinion? I think generally speaking, it's best if you don't want to have a car, I think you need to be in the city, and probably quite a big one at that. The further you go out, the more difficult it becomes. And that's not to say there aren't, one or two buses a day in rural areas, but it does become difficult and quite frustrating because you want to get out and about and explore the country. And it can be quite limiting the further you go from these, major conurbations. It would be my opinion. Please chip in. Anyone else? And also, Heather, great question. Does anyone have advice on looking for a job anywhere in Portugal? I'm a graphic designer and will be looking. So quite a few people retiring to Portugal. I think, Heather, first and best bet is the Expats Portugal forum. So pop on there and even connect to your CV or your LinkedIn profile. But does anyone else have anything else to say about that? Coming here to get a job or starting a business?
Hello.
Ah, Vitor.
Vitor.
What would you say about getting everyone suddenly lit up? He's here, everybody. Vitor Costa, our man in the north. Not much has been said about the north so far. I thought Khadija might like to have a word or two. What are the chances of foreigners coming over and getting a job, Vitor?
I'm probably not the best person to ask because I'm not really the normal person.
No, that's true.
Because I do believe that opportunity is everywhere, and you can make a job any place if you know where to look and what to do. That being said, I mean, it's not out of the question. Like when it comes to real estate, as I mentioned today, anybody can join real estate. And obviously, I would only recommend you do that if you really think you can add value. But I can give an example. There is an agent on EXP that she pretty much only speaks English, and she's doing very, very well here. Also dealing with foreigners who want to invest here, golden visas, and all of these things. That could be an option. There's always places hiring. We have even call centers and things of that nature. There are a lot of them that are English. And so you could do like technical support in English or something if you wanted those kind of jobs. So I'm not really the best person to ask about jobs. So I'm more on that
That is helpful. Thank you, Heather. I think first thing I'll say is, does anybody need any graphic design work doing? Speak to Heather. And the other thing is to be flexible, as Victor's pointing to there. You know, you might have to think about doing things other than your own key skill or what you've been doing for the last few years, and have that flexibility and versatility when you come over. So there are opportunities. There are many opportunities in Portugal. It really feels like that at the moment, but you might have to flex and be adaptable with that. What's Victor doing? He's hanging from the ceiling for a moment there. Khadija, are you still there? And would you be happy to talk to us about your first few? Well, it's only months, really, isn't it?
No, I'm here. I've been here exactly a year.
One
Like a
year, okay.
Yeah, 1 year.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Of course you have. Yes, yes, we celebrated it, didn't we, a few days ago on the morning show? Your year being here. How's that been?
It's been great. It's been great. I mean, we all kind of have similar experiences, I think, coming from the US and language. And I'll say the North, you're not going to get much English spoken here. So if you're afraid of that, don't, probably find the places where people speak a lot of English, because it's not up here very much. It's the odd person. The young people, though, I should say, the young people study English in school, most of them. And so when pushed, they can sort of help you out with some English. Or if you're in a supermarket, usually, you can ask, does anybody speak English? And they'll bring you the kid in the back or something. So that's not horrible. But day to day, I mean, yeah, it's been great. I don't know. What does anybody want to know? The North, you need a car here unless you live in Porto.
Yeah.
Just know, I mean, there is public transportation, but you could probably plan living in a place and use it. But for instance, the village I'm in, I think there's a bus out of town like 3 days a week. And the nearest big place to go is 30 minutes drive. So, yeah, you could live here and not ever do that. But we do have one ATM machine, but frequently it's out of money. And most of the businesses only take cash.
Right.
So, you kind of need a car up here. Yeah, we love Portugal. It was definitely the right decision for us.
Superb.
We fled the US like many people.
That's a recurring theme tonight, isn't it? Fleeing the US is incredible. And you were saying, what questions do people have? And we have a great question, because I think I am known to be a bit of a Portuguese Pollyanna, and I don't like to go to the dark side too often. But Moaz asked a great question. Portugal is a wonderful country, and the Portuguese are kind and friendly. But to prepare the newcomers, I'd like to hear about the challenges of living in Portugal. I think we know James's answer to that already. But if we could talk to Desiree, the Extons, about their visit, and if we start with you, Khadija, what do you think are the challenges then, to be realistic for people who are coming here? What do they need to be prepared for on the more difficult side of things?
Yeah, I mean, the only difficulty that I can think of for us was, I mean, it's different because we landed in the middle of lockdown. I mean, it was seriously, nothing was open when we came, and we didn't know how to even get food. We had all our utilities and everything turned on for us by our realtor. So and we rented for the first 6 months we lived here. So that's handy to have an English speaking Portuguese person help you navigate those things. We bought a car, and again, it was an English speaking Portuguese man we bought a car from, and he really helped us with that. And he still helps. I call him sometimes. The only problem we had that was a shock was when we went for our CEF appointment. The lady that I had and my husband had just didn't even care about speaking a word of English, which is fine. But I thought it was hard because, you want to go in and you want to make sure they give you your residency, and then they don't speak English, and you're like, and you're only here for 3 months. So you don't really know that much. I just literally handed her my stack of paperwork and just sat there. So that was kind of tough. And then the only other really challenging thing we've had is when my husband had to renew his US passport, and it was a nightmare, but that's the US Embassy. That has nothing to do with the Portuguese people. So yeah, I'm kind of like James. We moved here to be in a different culture and experience what it was like. And we really haven't had any of the bureaucratic nightmares. Plus, I live in the North and there's fewer people up here. So I think that might help a lot. Like, we got our vaccines, we were like, got them right away. And whereas people in the South, I heard, were waiting months and months. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah,
So,
well,
yeah.
population density. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the north is hot. The north is hot, and people like you and Vitor are making it so increasingly. I think week by week, it's a phenomenon definitely happening in the north. So I tried them, Oaz. Let's go to Martin now. Then challenges, Martin. I mean, buying a house wasn't easy, was it?
Yeah, well, yes and no. Just challenges generally. You need patience. You need to have a lot of patience, and I don't mean that in a putting down the Portuguese people or the Portuguese systems. It's just things take a lot of time, and they take their process. And again, getting back to James, he's got exactly the attitude that works, because you need to roll with it. You don't fight it. You don't. If you don't like that, if you want things immediate, don't come to Portugal, because it's you and you'll drive yourself nuts. But with the purchasing, just in short, if you're going to buy a place, you look at it, you get your lawyer to get a contract immediately, and you put your money down, because we've been gazumped on a place. Well, you know the story, but I mean, simply, we put an offer in, it was rejected, put a higher offer in, it was accepted. Wanted to get a survey done, which was more for my own needs, just to see what needed. I used to be a surveyor donkeys years ago, so I do know about property, but I wanted a local professional to give his opinion, and we were gazumped. And then I put a higher offer in, which was not accepted, because they said that we were a problem purchaser. We're a cash purchaser. I mean, there was no problem. But as luck, we bought a place 150 meters away, which just come on the market immediately, and it just worked perfectly. So we bought it, bang, 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 done, and now we have water coming in the master bedroom. But that's all part of the fun. I mean, I don't know.
And you used to be a surveyor.
Yes. We don't have rules like this in the UK.
Well, thank you for that little insight into well, just generally into how you've adapted, and to that buying tip as well, Martin. Thank you for that. Desiree, any mismatches between what you were expecting and what you experienced on the more sort of negative side of things?
What I was expecting, I should have expected this, but I was surprised at how sort of crowded things are, and it's obviously because most places were little medieval villages to start with. So the streets are all just tiny and everything's crammed together. It's very different. The United States, everything is spread out, big grids spread out. So I was a little, like, oh, wow, this is kind of chaotic and crammed in here, but I got used to it, and it was fine, and I started to find it charming, really. And I could see how some people that I met, they seem to enjoy just driving off on roads and seeing what's there. It's kind of, you can have this adventure. So I don't know, that was one thing. A concern I have from what I've been seeing is that it seems like it's getting hard to find rentals. And I'm wondering about that, what's going on with that, because I've been watching that, and it's like there's hardly anything in these places I've been looking, and I'm not ready to buy outright. I really do want to rent first. So I do have concerns about that. It's still kind of down the road for me, but I'm hoping that it's, not going to be just getting worse and worse.
No, I understand. Yep, it's a very legitimate concern. It's about demand, isn't it? And I suspect and hope the supply will rise to meet that demand that's clearly growing. And the Americans aren't alone. There are people fleeing Canada and the UK here tonight as well. So you're not alone in that. The Extons, anything that surprised you on your short visit here?
Same thing about the renting, because we're really struggling. We went to a few places and they either don't have anything or
they saw we were English speaking and they were just like,
so they just made an excuse. It's like no.
And
really, right?
Yeah, so we just left a few places, didn't we? The thing that I'm finding is there are lots of rentals that are in the summer holidays. They are for the Portuguese people, and then in the the off-peak season, they rent them out to expats and they offer the 12-month thing because they know we want it, but they're offering it. They're kind of saying they'll sign it for 12 months, but that you've kind of got to be out before peak season. So it's a 12-month, but they're kind of saying it's not actually for 12 months.
Yeah.
But it's just like a jumping off point for people. But that's only available from September because obviously that's when the Portuguese go back to school and back to work. So, and we're wanting something before that for the summer. So if people are looking for September accommodation, there's loads of it. But if you're looking for peak time, they want the holiday money and the holiday rentals.
Yep.
And we've been looking for months, haven't we? And now we're at the end where we need to find something, and it's impossible. We're really struggling. So.
All right, I'll get my garage swept out as a bit of a fallback there, but it's a serious issue without a question, isn't it? It is a serious issue, and hopefully Vitor's nodding, he knows about this, and hopefully supply will increase to meet this growing demand day by day. Lee, thanks Khadija for answering Lee's question there. Email us at admin@expatsportugal.com or carl@expatsportugal.com, and we'll put that to our partners in the visa business, EI, so we can help you with that. Yes, thank you, Stephen Kaiser. And I'm hoping it's 2-0 in favour of Portugal, because I was going to warn everybody, if they were trying to do any business in Portugal tomorrow and Portugal don't get through this World Cup qualifier, there probably won't be any answers. The country will be in a state of national mourning if they don't win this match tonight. So 2-0 up, Stephen Kaiser. Thank you very much for that. Sorry if that's been a spoiler for anyone who's watching it later, because I've done the damage now, haven't I? I could have handled it a bit better. Where are you looking, the Extons? Asked Andrew in the capital.
Nowhere now, because your garage is being swept down.
Okay, excellent. We can come to a very, very nice arrangement.
The Silver Coast is my favourite bit, I
But
think.
in all honesty, we'll happily live pretty much anywhere in Portugal. Here, and then when we know where we want to live, then we're going to buy somewhere.
Yeah.
So we're just throwing a hat into the ring.
The Silver Coast to Tamar, that kind of square, Silver Coast.
That's a big area, but I understand why you're saying that, because you want to get your base camp, don't you? I mean, we do promote, and people do seem to like the base camp idea. Just get here.
It's so small. It's so small anywhere. You literally in the car and you just anywhere. It's easy to get everywhere, isn't it?
Use the toll roads,
It's not like it's not even that far to get to anything. So
good point. Yep. You can get around the country, and Americans, you'll just take it in your stride, the scale of the country, and getting around to places. So don't worry too much about that. So in concluding moments, I didn't ask James, did I? But the reason for that, I think, Mr. Rogers, is that I didn't think you would have anything challenging or negative to add. James, do you?
Well, I guess it's all a matter of perspective, huh? A couple of things that have come up. One, it wouldn't surprise me if part of the rental situation is seasonal, because people, even though it's still early for the high season, people I'm seeing are coming in. They're getting I see all kinds of things. I want to be here from April to August, or things like that happening. So that may be challenging the market somewhat. I don't know how much. Secondly, I think great advice, and it just happened to work my way, which I find happens a lot in my life. So I don't have all these challenges. I don't know why that happens, except it does. At any rate, try to meet people who live in Portugal before you come here. I had a 6 or 8 month weekly video chat with a Portuguese woman who responded to a request I had for a language exchange through Facebook, a Facebook group that is from the area where I wanted to land. So I knew I wanted to be in Ericeira. I looked on Facebook. I just searched for Ericeira and found all these groups, and I joined them. And I started connecting with people. And this woman said, yeah, I'd be interested in that. So for 6 months, 2 or 3 hours on a Saturday afternoon in California, I was spending with this Portuguese woman talking about culture and her family and where I'm coming from and challenges in the language and just whatever it was. And that turned into her renting me her studio that she made out of her garage, making it available for me So she made sure no one was renting it when I was getting here, and then asked me to be sure to let her know what my flight number was, because she and her husband were going to come pick me up at the airport and bring me here.
Wow.
And these kinds of things, if I expected I was coming all by myself with my 3 pieces of baggage and I was going to figure it out somehow. And all of this started coming to me, I think in part because my intention was clear, but also because I was making these connections. So I think that's a really important piece. In terms of the challenges, it goes back to what I said originally. If you come here expecting this country to be America, you're going to be very, very frustrated and very angry and cursing a lot. But if you come here saying, I'm here for a new experience and I'm here to learn how to do things the way they're done here, and I'm going to learn from this culture that is this country, which includes this challenging language. And I'm going to respect the fact that I'm in somebody else's home, basically. I'm visiting and I'm learning how to become a family member. If I come with that attitude, I don't have anything to get mad about. And so for me, if so much of it is your attitude coming in, if you come with that mindset, I think you'll, like a few people have said already, you'll find yourself sort of laughing, but not laughing at, laughing with the circumstances that are in front of you, like enjoying the fact that, oh yeah, this is not the US. But if you come here expecting it to be everything that you're familiar with in America, it's going to be very challenging.
Well said. Thank you so much. What the American guy just said. Fantastic, James. You're getting a lot of love and thumbs up for that. That's wisdom, James. Thank you from Matt. That's awesome, James. From Lynn, we couldn't agree more. James, absolutely, from Viv. Fantastic. Such a great attitude. I think that would be great to park that up as your final contribution, James, unless you have anything more to add there. Thumbs up.
Oh, and another thing. No, I'm just kidding. I'm good. No, I'm good. I was
James,
joking.
that is super. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Let's go. I think Jim, Mr. and Mrs. McDonald have, I think, are fast asleep now, and quite rightly so. They are exhausted after just a few days in Tavira. So thank you to them, should they be watching the replay. Martin, thank you. Do you have a final word to share with us?
Well, basically exactly what James is saying. It's do not come here expecting it to be something that you're used to in your home country. This is Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal here for a long, long time, and they make whatever it is work. And if it isn't as fast as you used to, then live with it or don't come. That's
well said. Well said. Thank you very much indeed, and all the best to you. Martin there in the south, and to Jojo. Yeah, all the best to you in your new home and new life in Portugal, and equally to you, Ericeira, James, Banana Slug Man. Catch him on the Good Morning Portugal show most mornings. Desiree, what say you as a final contribution to this? You're not just landed, but you were recently landed and had a fantastic time here by the sound of it. What would be your concluding comment?
I did indeed. I mean, it's so different. You almost can't even really explain how different it is. And right. I keep saying that to people when they ask me, like, well, it's so different. And I mean, it's just, I think people seem in general more relaxed, really. And there's more sort of this sense of we're here to help each other. You know, there's this attitude that's really different than I find in the US in general. And it's just, I feel like there's even a little bit more freedom in a certain way, like in the way people can do things, you know, do things themselves in a way, how they do their houses, how they do their yards, how they, you know, it's not controlled and regimented, really. It's much more creative, I think, and open. It feels that way to me. And it's just awesome. I mean, I really did have a wonderful time. So.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for being here tonight, and all the best with your unfolding adventure in being here. I guess you're looking forward to being just landed. And the Exton household in the UK, what would you say to your fellow Brits who are fleeing Brexit Island at the moment? I'm guessing you're very keen to be here. What are your final thoughts this evening?
Well, I would add that whilst we did have a couple of people who didn't want to help us when we were looking for accommodation, we also had we were put in touch with someone who tried to help us, and then she put us in touch with someone else who tried to help us, and people were just really willing to go out of their way. And we even had a lady who took us round her house to show us a house. Just, she wasn't going to make any money out of it. She was just trying to help us. And they were all so lovely. They just go out of their way to do, you know, for no reason. Just felt like it. Had a little bit of a chat. It was just lovely.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. So there are lots of people that, and you would not get that in the United Kingdom. The people would not be, they would not do that. They're far too busy, you know. So
Maybe
exactly what James said, but he says it so much better.
Oh, thank you, Sarah.
Oh, no, you did a good job.
And, you know, in these crazy times, isn't it lovely to have this lovely feel-good feeling as we've warmed ourselves around the Portuguese heart and soul this evening, and all these lovely experiences that people have had. Thank you so much, each and every one of you. All the best in your adventures and your new lives here. We'll leave it there. And the great news, of course, is that Portugal seem to be up at half-time and roasting turkey. So I hope that continues as well in the second half. And I thank you all for being here this evening. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.